I feel like every good YouTube video starts out with a deep sigh, right? That's just how it has to be. The Dallas Mavericks have hit a new low. This is maybe the saddest stretch of Dallas basketball. The Luka trade broke me. Kyrie Irving tearing his ACL was one of the worst things that could have happened. Seeing the entire Mavericks core that I know, or what left of it that I knew, getting injured in some way, shape, or form. Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, PJ Washington, everybody getting injured at some point. Dante Exum. I mean, you could just keep adding names to the list. Just about any player you could say at some point got injured this season, it felt like. This has all come to today, April 9th, 2025. I was reminded today, 6 years ago, this was Dirk's last home game. And I remember the big ceremony for it, and I remember watching that as a kid and crying. Because that was a legend. That was a guy who meant a lot to me. He meant a lot to the city of Dallas. He meant a lot to the NBA. And Dallas had another player like that. And tonight, 6 years after that, they just sit and watch as he scored 45 points. As he was able to do basically whatever he wanted. And the Mavericks could only sit and stare and cheer. Because that's what we do. This was not a guy that wanted to leave. This was a guy that was traded for no good reason. A reason was given, but it still does not make any sense 2 months and 8 days later. Welcome again, everybody, to the Guys Who Stare at Stats. Cade Kennedy with you, Tyler Riggs joining as well. I am depressed once again. You can consider this a sequel video to the depressed Mavs fan rants about the Luka trade. I'm not going to be... I'm going to try to keep this PG-13. I'm not going to try to drop a bunch of swear words. If you're listening to this on Spotify, we do have a Spotify now, by the way. Feel free to follow that as well. This is going to be a very just whatever I think of comes to mind type of video. There's going to be no structure to this. This is just turn on the camera and go. So I'm just going to let everyone watching this know right now, this is going to be a very freeform type of video. But watching tonight just made me upset, just made me sad. Watching Luka cry during the intro video, the video he was given, it hurts. It's a shot right in the heart, and you want to cry with him almost if you're a Mavs fan. And I'm sure some people did cry, and I understand people getting emotional about it. Because I talked about it back then in February. You don't understand this if you don't care about Dallas sports, the Dallas Mavericks specifically. And this is like this with, smaller market teams as well. Tyler, I know you'll be able to talk about this with Oakland being an Oklahoma City fan, but it's just when you have a guy that represents your city so well, and the Mavericks, despite being in a massive city, massive market in Dallas, get treated like a small market team. They're never going to be bigger than the Cowboys. That would be ridiculous. But it's just, you preach loyalty. It's on the statue of Dirk Nowitzki. Loyalty never fades away. And what did the Mavericks do? They traded the second best player. You could already say second best player, probably going to be at some point the best player in franchise history, I think. And you traded him away. And we'll talk about the game here in a little bit. The game itself was not the important thing that happened tonight. It was the everything around it that happened today that I think was more important. But just everything for the past 2 months has been building up. And I still pray that one day I'm going to wake up and it's late January again, and I'm going to find out that none of this ever happened, and I've been living the nightmare for 2 months now, and I'm going to wake up and I was in a coma somehow. I think I rather would have had that happen, actually, Tyler. I think I'm still praying and holding out some hope. I'm going to wake up and I've been in a coma, and it's actually January, and none of this ever happened, and, oh, hey, the Mavericks are doing fine. Yeah, they've got some injuries, but everything's going to be fine. It's just not going to happen. That you almost still hold out some hope for it.
Yeah, it was, as a person, you talk about the small market connection, maybe being a Thunder fan. I got the other side of the coin, right? You got a guy where Luka was traded. He didn't request a trade. Now that, of course, for Oklahoma City fans, the one that always stings is Kevin Durant.
Yes.
Literally had Golden State backs against the wall. Apparently Draymond's making phone calls. All of a sudden, you got the next chapter, and the rest is history. In that instance, right, it hurt. Like it still hurt because it basically told you, "Hey, our franchise isn't good enough." He doesn't think our franchise is good enough, despite winning an MVP award and all that. So that was tough. I can't imagine and we heard the raw emotion. If you watch the game, you very clearly heard the fans in the arena's opinions on the matter, rightfully so, very loudly, multiple times throughout the game. And that in itself was fascinating. What makes me, I can't even say mad at this point, but like, and it's going to get played a lot. You'll see it on Sports Center, ESPN, whatever. Luka crying out that video. And people are saying, wow, it was sweet they did that. He's clearly emotional still. And it's like, no, it's not sweet they did that because you do that video when a guy, realizes like, hey, thank LeBron and the decision. He goes to Miami, he feels that's the best path for him because unfortunately Cleveland just didn't put out enough at that point to keep LeBron there. So Cleveland plays that video for LeBron when he comes back, right? And you hope, hey, maybe he'll one day work his way back to us. That's what you play that video for. You don't play it for a
Yes.
guy that you shipped out of town. That's crazy. That's maybe one of the
Exactly.
wildest things that I've seen. And not even being a Dallas Mavericks fan, I was mad seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, just waking up today and finding out that, we're going to do shirts that said thanks for everything. What do you mean thanks for everything? You traded him. We were in the
Yes.
finals last year. Thanks for everything. We had another 10 years of everything. We had
Yeah.
so much still to do. We were in the finals. We won a finals game. We did not get swept in the first round or some stupid thing where it's okay, the Mavs had their run a few years ago. We beat Phoenix that one time. That was cool, guys. This was one of those where it's just, and that's where I wanted to really start with this. If we're going to go timeline the entire day, it was that. And then the article that comes out about, well, Patrick Dumont knows that he knows nothing about basketball and he's going to let Nico take care of everything. And every front office just kind of is like, yeah, these guys are dumb. It's kind of great. Just what are we doing? Like, this was a day designed to piss me off, it feels like. And then you have Jason Kidd, God bless him, for trying to one up all of this. In his press conference an hour before the game, says, and I kid you not, this is a real quote, he said, some people are comparing this Luka trade to the Babe Ruth trade, and I think that's kind of cool. I wanted to strangle something or punch a wall. It is not kind of cool. If you know sports history, you know what happened to the Red Sox after they did that. They won nothing for 84 years. They were not, they weren't always terrible, but the curse of the Bambino was a real thing. If are the Mavs cursed now? It sure feels like it with all the injury luck and everything else that happened. That could be a whole video for a different day, though.
Yeah, I will say, as Jason Kidd, I mean, he talk about being put in an impossible situation.
He is.
He's got to do the best he can, as a head coach. And credit to him for trying to keep the chin up best he can, because he very easily, it's when you're a coach in that position, you could very easily say, you know what, I disagree with all this in terms of how they handled this. I'm going to make my opinion known about it.
Yeah.
But when you're a professional and Jason Kidd as a player has been there sometimes, you just gotta here. So he's doing the best he can on that.
Yeah. And I mean, and that goes into a whole other argument.
Way to be in.
Yeah, that goes into a whole argument where, some Mavs fans, it's, and we'll get into this as the game, we'll kind of progress as the game went on. Some Mavs fans, it's, who do you blame for this? Nico Harrison, obviously. Some people want to say, well, Jason Kidd had to be in on this. Of course, the ownership had to be in on this. And so to some people, it's this giant web of blame everybody that goes from Nico to Jason Kidd to Mark Cuban, even still, to Patrick Dumont and the Adelsons. And I mean, it goes into this giant web. But at the end of the day, if there's one specific guy you have to blame, it's Nico Harrison. Obviously, he's the general manager. And the Mavs fans, you kind of got the feeling, if you watched NBA Countdown, which I never do, but I decided, what the heck? They're going to be, someone has to be in Dallas reporting on this. This is the biggest story of the week, despite what the Nuggets did. This is still the biggest story of the week. And seeing Tim McMahon, who Dallas fans already don't have a great reputation with Tim McMahon, but he's the Dallas guy for whatever reason. Seeing him out there and seeing Mavs fans wearing Luka jerseys, Lakers fans who are just there, other Mavs fans who are disgruntled and wearing Luka Slovenia jerseys and other stuff, and just seeing the Fire Nico chant behind him develop. They brought out the truck again with the Fire Nico sign painted on it. It was one of those, it took me back to the beginning of February and that first Mavs game at home after the trade. It started to feel like, oh no, this is early February all over again. You could feel that rage start to bubble up a little bit, where it's just, oh no, this is going to be bad. And I wondered how this was going to work, because if you remember the February game against Houston, the Mavs organization put a straight muzzle on the crowd. If you said anything bad about Fire Nico, you would get someone who would come, Usher would come over and say, hey, say one more bad word about Nico, you're out of here. There was a dictatorship in the AAC that day.
A gag order.
Yeah, a gag order, whatever. They were not going to stop the 20,000 people in there tonight. And it was very, very clear from the moment that LeBron goes to the free throw line the first time, that immediate Fire Nico erupting. That made me feel good. That was the first time in over 2 months I kind of smiled watching the Dallas Mavericks. And it wasn't even something the Mavericks did. It was the crowd being angry about what happened 2 months ago. And I mean, I'll play a clip of it here. This was in the second quarter. This was right before halftime. One of the loudest Fire Nico moments. And I mean, just... You can hear the frustration. You can't hear it now because I'm talking over it as much, but still, it was just, you see Nico Harrison, like the little snake he is, hiding away. Mr. Mamba mentality himself, still can't believe he said that. Every time they cut to him, you just see him hiding to where no fans can see him. No one can pay attention to him. How much of a coward do you have to be to not only make that trade and then say day one you have to come out and defend it, and then you never want to be at a Mavs game ever again? And you just want to hide, oh, I'm not here, I'll show up before the game, but the second they open it up to the fans, I'm going to go run away. How much of a coward do you have to be? It's almost you shouldn't have made that trade.
Well, that's what gets me the most, right? We've seen crazy trades and crazy happenings in the NBA and professional sports for a number of years. If you're going to make a decision that monumental, and you claim it's that monumental, own up to it. Stand behind it. Don't be playing touching, teary videos of all the great memories you had with Luka.
Yeah.
Don't give him that treatment. There shouldn't be that.
Yeah. And then
play it. I'm Cade. I'm a wrestling fan, right?
Yes.
When somebody makes an unpopular, does something unpopular, they're a heel. Well, they want the crowd to hate them. They're a heel. You're Nico at this point. You make that trade. You got to realize, hey, these fans are gonna hate me until we win another championship.
Yeah.
So you got to own it. You cannot, like I said, can't run away from it. That's cowardly.
Yeah.
That's
especially
admitting you screwed up.
Yeah, especially when it comes to Mavs fans, because and this is every sports fan base. You have people you hold grudges against. That's part of it. We're still mad at Rajon Rondo for a decade ago quitting on the team in the middle of a playoff game. I'm still mad. 9-year-old me is still mad at Dwayne Wade for making fun of Dirk being sick during the finals. That stuff never goes away. Nico Harrison's going to be hated forever. I didn't know Dallas people could hate someone more than Jerry Jones, and Nico decided to take up the mantle for that. My God. It's one of those where that anger from the beginning of the game helped. The other thing that pissed me off a lot today, the Mavs fans, or the Mavs official social media pages, making 5 different posts about Luka, being like, oh, we're glad to have him back. Here he is. Thank you. Kind of, again, goes into that. You traded him. This isn't a fun comeback day. We are all hoping he breaks Wilt's 100-point record somehow because we hate this so much. It's just it's one of those where that, and then the audacity, the sheer stupidity to try to get those thanks for everything shirts and to
Oh,
try to get
so bad.
Luka's sponsors to help make those shirts and to help sponsor the day, like a big Luka welcome back party. And they had to send emails and just say, like, why would we sponsor that? He plays for the other team. This isn't Luka's
Yeah,
coming back after a decade or something as an old man to finish out the job and, retire as a Maverick. This isn't some big kumbaya moment after a decade, which I pray to God happens one day, but, 1% chance at best, I would say. But you have all of that before the game. You have the Fire Nico chants at the start of the game that go on the entire time. Luka gets a standing ovation basically every time he touches the ball in the first quarter, which I loved it. It was a weird atmosphere for sure. We can get into that a little bit more. I thought it's got to be weird if you're the Mavericks players. And the Mavericks players, keep in mind, are in a horrible position where they just
oh
want to
yeah.
play.
They're in a no-win spot.
They
Yeah.
didn't trade Luka. No one asked for this. They've got to still come out here and play. But I saw a great post on it today. If you're a Mavs fan and you see that emotional video for Luka, how in the hell are you supposed to then get excited? And I mean, no offense to the man, but the starting lineups would be like, guys, it's Najee Marshall, it's PJ. I love them. I love Najee. I love PJ. But it's like, how am I supposed to get excited about this when we're all here having a funeral for what could have, for future championships that are never going to happen now because we traded a top 3 player in the league for Anthony
Yeah.
Davis, who, you want to talk about ghosts out there tonight. Anthony
Ooh.
Davis. I mean, I don't want to get too critical on him because he is being rushed back from an injury, but he did that to himself. That's also what makes me mad and why I think this is maybe the lowest point in Mavericks history. You had a tank secured. You did not need to bring Derek Lively back. You did not need to bring Daniel Gafford back. Dante Exum was apparently back despite the fact that he was supposed to have wrist surgery. He was back tonight. He didn't play. It was a coach's decision, but all of that happens. Najee Marshall's out there trying, at least. I give him credit. He had 23. But Anthony Davis is just a ghost. And I get it. He's getting double teamed, and the Mavs literally don't have a guard. I'm sorry, they just don't. That's a whole other thing. We get Brandon Williams back in a few days. Hooray for that. Again, love him, but that's not gonna move the needle here. We're the 10th seed in the West. It's just there's so many things that have gone wrong, and the fact that we're here, where we're going to make the play-in, because as I speak, Oklahoma City is probably murdering Phoenix tonight. And if that happens, Dallas is in regardless. I mean, let me just check right now. What's the score of that game? Can we get a score? Actually, the Suns are up by 10. So go, Suns, go. Please win the next 3 games somehow. I know you don't want that to happen tonight, Tyler. I know you want the Thunder to win to get
Hey,
your home court
No,
advantage. But
Oklahoma City, we're good. We got all the wins we
yeah,
need.
you
It
got
don't
all the.
matter right
Yeah.
now.
I need somehow, by the grace of the Lord, I will go to church twice on Sunday. If the Suns win
Oh,
3 games
twice
that
on
are,
Sunday.
I'll go twice. I'll go 3 times. Hell, I'll go a 4th time if I need. I'll go back at midnight if I need to. If the Suns win
Oh
3
man.
games in a row and the Mavs lose out. If the Mavs lose to the Raptors and some divine intervention happens and the Suns get to make the play-in and the Mavs get a top 12 pick, oh man, that'll be the happiest I'll be this entire second half of the season, man. I mean, it's just
Wow.
it's this is why it's all toppling on itself. And I mean, this is the lowest I can remember for the Mavs. I've never wanted a season to end. You never want to see a season end unless you won the championship, of course. But, this is the Dallas Mavericks. That doesn't happen often. But you never want to see that happen. The ending of a season is always supposed to be a sad thing where, hey, guys, we had a good run like last year. It was an amazing season. We still lost the championship at the end of the day. A lot of years it's a failed playoff run or, we made some progress or something like that. But we are back to in between 2012 and 2018, where it's just you can see You can stare down the barrel of the gun and you know what's coming year after year now. Maybe we're a 7 seed one year. Maybe we're a 9 seed. Maybe we're a 10 like this year. The Mavs are not going to be some elite team by any means for the next few years. That's very obvious. Kyrie, we don't know when in the world he's going to be back. Anthony Davis, how long is he going to be here? Anthony Davis's legacy in Dallas is going to be, hey, you were the guy we traded Luka for. Why did we trade Luka again? I don't know. Nico was being extra specially dumb that day. You know, it's depressing. It's sad. There's nothing really else I can say. We're getting to that rambling point of the video I talked about where.
Well, let me interject here a little bit because I want to touch on that environment. So again, being a kind of a bystander, right? A person that's got no rooting interest.
Yeah.
That might have been the most bizarre viewing experience I've had in quite some time. I mean, seriously, with the way, and ESPN, I'll give credit, did an excellent job covering it. Kind of really getting you all the emotion of everything and didn't really shy away from, any criticism or anything like that. So kudos to them on that. But my goodness. And then, you touch on if you're a Dallas player, like that's a no-win situation for you from the jump, from the start of that game. And then on top of that, if you're Luka, like, God, the guy you could tell was going through it at the start, right? Like for his first couple shots were real wobbly. His first few touches of the ball weren't great, and so you tell he's going through it, and it's just, I mean, what a mess. That's the best way I could describe it. It's just an absolute mess, and one that is, as you're laying out and getting to essentially with the emotion, unnecessary. Like this was all not needed. It didn't have to happen this way, but here we are.
No, this will go down if it hasn't already. And I think we've already made this case 2 months ago. This is the worst trade in the history of the NBA. There is no justifiable means to explain why that trade was made then. And 30 to 40 to 50 years from now, when I'm an old man, if I'm ever wearing any Mavericks gears, if I ever get asked, hey, what was it like the day Luka got traded? I'm going to have not just 1,000-yard stare. It's going to be full-on PTSD flashbacks of people calling me, doing mental health checks at 11:30 at night. There's a real thing that happened. I had friends calling me saying, hey, are you good? And because, and I talked about then, I'll talk about now, it felt like a family member died or a pet. It felt like there was a week stretch where anytime I watched basketball, I was just sad. I just didn't want to watch it. I disassociated for a while, came back to see Anthony Davis play 3 quarters and then get hurt, come back to see the Mavs kind of tanking, but kind of not, and then watch Kyrie tear his ACL, and okay, we have to tank now, except we didn't because we're going to make the play-in probably. It's just this whole stretch. And I mean, I wasn't alive for the 90s Mavs. I wasn't alive for 2 of the worst seasons in NBA history. I was alive but not conscious enough to see the We Believe Warriors happen. I was alive but not conscious enough to see the 06 going up 2-0 and Miami winning 4 in a row. There have been dark moments for the Mavs, but something good has usually come out of it. The Mavs were able to rebuild through most of the 90s. They were able to get the Triple Js. They were able to get something going, and eventually that led to Dirk and Nash. The Mavs have made finals before. They've had their runs. But when you look at what next year's going to be, which is another year of mediocrity just like this, waiting for Kyrie to get healthy and hope that he's 80% of what he has been, coming off an ACL. I mean, that's about all you can ask for someone at his age. You don't know what Anthony Davis is going to continue to do. You don't know what the Mavs are going to do in terms of free agency. We still have a lot of unknowns about next year, but I am ready for this season to be done for the Mavs. We got 3 games left because they're not beating Sacramento. Spoiler alert, they're not going to win at Sacramento. If they win at Sacramento, there's going to be a whole nother video about that. But it's depressing. It's sad. It's exhausting as well. This is the first Mavs game. I was looking at it, and you can blame me for not being a true fan or whatever. I'm not paying for watching Mavs TV for this stuff. I'm not. Not when you do all this. This is the first Mavs game I've watched in a month. This is legitimately, since they played the Suns on national TV in March, I had not watched a Mavs game. I checked the scores, I watched some highlights, but I had not sat down and actually watched a Mavs game. And I've been dreading this moment ever since we traded Luka. This game back, because I knew it was going to make me mad. It was going to make me frustrated all over again. And here we are, April 9th, 2025. Congratulations, Nico Harrison. If you're a double agent, you're the greatest double agent that ever lived. Rob Pelinka was out there giving Luka a freaking standing ovation along with the entire Mavs fan base, and you've got Nico Harrison hiding in a freaking corner in the AAC. What are we doing? What are we doing? Someone please save the Dallas Mavericks. Mark Cuban somehow buy the team back. Someone do something, because we're about to enter a very horrible time to be a Dallas Mavericks fan, as if the last 2 months weren't already. But it's just, I don't want to do this anymore. I've never been excited for a season to end. I've never been excited to say I don't have to watch my team play basketball anymore, because I don't want to be sad watching guys who can't dribble, who can't do anything. They all attack the rim, and we already have two bigs clogging the paint. It is so frustrating because we don't have a guard. Kyrie Irving tore his ACL. Spencer Dinwiddie is a player that exists occasionally. We have a Luka Doncic-sized hole in the offense, and we're watching him score 45 on us. It's depressing. It's horrible. It is terrible. It is blasphemous. It is whatever word you want to say. Whatever negative adjective you can use to describe this situation, go ahead and use it. I've been sick for the past 2.5 weeks. It's the reason why we haven't had a lot of videos on the channel. I would rather go through the sinus infection strep throat combo I've had for the last 2.5 weeks than sit through this 3 hours of basketball again. That was more fun not being able to talk. It was more fun waking up coughing and hacking and crying. Water like that. Apologize for that, but like that. It was more fun waking up at 4 a.m. having a coughing fit, feeling my heart spike up like 40 beats per minute than it should have been. Waking up, water in my eyes, feeling like I was going to die. That was more fun for 2.5 weeks than it was to sit through these 3 hours tonight. It is the worst I've ever felt as a sports fan of any team in general. And you can already hear my opinions on that with OU football this year, because boy, I was mad about that. I've been through a lot of ups. I've been through a lot of lows, but I've never been through a low like this where you can't see the up. You can't see any positive of what the Dallas Mavericks are going to do this season or next season. And then we don't have a pick for 4 years, so hooray for that. It's just, my God. And Tyler, if you've got any other final thoughts you want to add here, I'm going to let you have the floor for a few minutes if you want it, because otherwise, I said this was not going to be another 30-minute video, and it's already been 28 minutes.
Yeah, no, I think you summed it up pretty well. I mean, that's, as a sports fan, it's unfortunately what we go through sometimes. This is, on an extreme side, unfortunate for any Dallas Mavericks fans.
It is. So I just want to say, as always, if you made it all the way through, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to always be notified when new stuff comes out. We'll have a lot more NBA content. Thankfully, not talking about the Dallas Mavericks, so I can be happy about basketball for once.
Yeah.
But be positive about the league. There's some great storylines, and there's whatever the hell the Mavericks are doing. I mean, we'll get to some of that. The play-in. We'll do some playoff predictions. We'll try to do some more nightly style recaps and stuff. Maybe some quicker videos in and of that. But folks, until next time, have a good one, everyone. And for the love of God, fire Nico. My God, just please fire him. Somebody do something. I'm begging you.